Here we go. All right,
Okay.
we're live.
All right, I've called the meeting of the Groton Parks and Rec Commission to order, 7:09. I do have, this could be interesting.
Okay, well, take your time.
Okay, so we have a quorum. We've got 3 members plus
We
Mark.
do.
So I guess the first order of business is approval of the minutes, Fran. Did anybody have any comments, questions on the minutes?
Under unfinished business, the last sentence, it doesn't look like it's complete. It says MD, which is Mike, should, and then it dropped off right there. So I'm not sure what was supposed to be in there.
I'm opening it. I'll take a look. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. And Mike, I don't know if you remember making a suggestion or.
I will look right now.
Okay.
Should we go on? Or is, Mike, are you checking or are we?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Okay,
I think I'm good, mate. I don't remember anything there.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can maybe just scratch it.
Okay.
okay, we'll just delete that line.
I don't see it.
Oh, really?
It's on the second page, Fran.
Yeah, under unfinished business, under the environmental sustainability policy revisions. Fran, you made a suggestion, Elizabeth made a suggestion, and then it looks like Mike made a suggestion, and the only thing that got captured was should.
Yeah, I mean, the only suggestion I think I had was to break it out into like the requirements up front, which I did see, and then like the initiatives or the programs we're doing to implement into like an
Oh.
appendix. So
Yeah,
I did see that.
actually,
Maybe that was it.
I do remember you
That
saying
makes
that.
sense, yeah.
Yeah, and Elizabeth did that when she put that together.
Sorry, it
Okay.
didn't make the minutes.
What's that?
I'm sorry, it didn't make the minutes for whatever reason. I don't know
Oh,
what happened.
that's okay.
That was a challenging meeting. I had
Yeah,
one
that
thing
was a long one.
under 9C, records retention policy. I don't see the vote recorded.
I have it on my copy. It says moved by EH, seconded by DB, and under yes, it said all.
Okay, that, oh, I see.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
where it's
it
thinking
carried
on
over to the
page.
next page. Yeah.
It is there. Sorry about that. I
That's
missed
all
that.
That's
That's
important.
all right. Okay. That's all I had. Are there any other suggestions or changes? Then an entertain a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
I'll second it.
Need someone to make the motion first.
And I,
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Seconded by Fran. All in favor?
Right.
Okay.
feeling we're gonna do motions and seconding tonight, Mike.
Yeah, I think so.
Sounds good.
So any citizens petitions and comments? I didn't receive any. Okay. Any town council referrals, Mark?
Not at this time.
Okay. Correspondence and communications. Anyone? Okay. Then I guess we'll go on to reports. That puts you up, Mark.
Okay. So just a couple of updates in addition to what appeared in the mailing that went out. The survey, the invitation portion of the master plan survey. Those should have been, they were scheduled to start arriving tomorrow, or today, I'm sorry, in households. And we've posted information on our Facebook page, sent out a bulk email to all of those families that we have emails for. We've also asked that other departments share that information on their Facebook page. We're making hard copies available at the library, at Thrive, at Town Hall, and at Spicer House for those that may not feel comfortable filling it out online. Our RRC said that we could have the surveys filled out, scan them, and send them to them, and they would add them to the database for the invitation only, which I thought was nice for them to do, because I'm going to have to enter those all in by hand. We've also purchased, I think, a dozen of those, roadside signs that, we're going to put those out. And we've also got stickers that we're putting on all the municipal buildings, reminding people that, the surveys are coming out, and this is a great opportunity for them to share with us their thoughts and comments. And there's a QR code on the signs and on the stickers that they can scan, and it will bring them right to more information about the survey. So we're doing what we can to try to raise awareness. There was also, I think, an article in the Day 2 days ago about the survey, and there is also, we've also posted it on the display board at out in front of Thrive, by the entrance to the electronic media. That I think the open survey is scheduled until right after Christmas. And then we're going to look to see how many survey responses we have, look to perhaps send out a second round of postcards to get people to, more people to fill the survey out. And then shortly after that, probably have open up the online survey. Mike, the next two things are kind of specific to you. The developer of the Colonel Ledger playground up in the Deerfield development, he has received the information that you collected from the neighbors, and whenever he's ready to take that next step, he's got to send the plans to me. So when I receive them, I'll share them, but there's no timeline. So, it could be 6 months, it could be 3 years before he decides to take that next step.
Understand.
And I also wanted to let you know that I met with Bill from ARC today, and out at the disc golf course, just to talk about the location. I think we've reached a compromise. I originally wanted to try to put it right by the entrance, just inside the woods. He really wasn't comfortable with that, given the clients that are emptying collecting the recycled cans. So there is a piece of exercise equipment kind of just off the basketball court. It's a flat area, and we're going to look at putting it there. But Bill said that he would kind of survey the neighborhood, not the whole neighborhood, but probably go like 5 houses up the street, 5 houses down the street, and 5 houses across the street, just to get a sense of how the neighbors would feel about us putting a recycling container there. I had some hesitations. I know when we had a portalet out in that back field, I got phone calls about how long that portalet was going to be there. And so I'm a little concerned about putting a recycling container there. I did agree that as part of the presentation, Bill's going to put together a flyer. And I did say that we would agree to put up 2 sides of fencing to kind of be a screen. So he's going to kind of canvass the part of the neighborhood that would most probably be directly impacted by putting that there, get a sense of their thoughts, and then based on that, we'll either move forward or just decide that that's not a good place. And I did mention to Bill that you lived in that neighborhood and you actually might want to help him out with surveying. Oh, yes, Fran.
I just want to say that as a person who also lives in that neighborhood, the whole neighborhood uses that area. So it's not just relevant to the people living directly around it. Like people walk from the other side of the neighborhood to go to that
Okay.
place area.
Yeah.
So I would recommend surveying the whole area and not just the houses right around it.
Okay, well, then that's a much bigger task because there's a lot of folks in that neighborhood. So I don't know, Mike, you've already done some canvassing up in that area. If you would want to work with Bill on that.
If he's got questions or whatever, just have him reach out to me.
Okay. And yeah, I guess that's about it for the director's report.
Okay, thank you. The golf course?
Included in the packet was a summary of the revenue from November. And again, we exceeded last month's November revenue and continue to track ahead cumulatively from last year. Despite some rainy day events and cooler weather, we still are seeing a lot of play at the golf course and hope that will continue throughout the remainder of the year.
Any word on when the military rates are being put into effect?
Yeah, so there was a golf advisory board meeting Monday night, and December is when the golf advisory board starts to make the plans for, or not make plans, to discuss the rates for the following fiscal year or for the following calendar year. So they've seen what the 22 rates are and are going to be, and I sent them a spreadsheet of the changes that have taken place over the last 10 years as far as rates for both members and those that are paying greens fees. So there are already in place some veteran discounts. I don't have the sheet in front of me, but there's families that have a veteran, there's a discount for that. There's a veteran discount for single players. And I think there's also a veteran option for limited play also. So right now we have 3. We're kind of covering all of our bases. I'm not sure that we'll see more veteran options.
Because I'm still thinking about active military as opposed to veterans.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, the next meeting that the GAB has is in February to kind of propose rates. And then there's a joint meeting, as you recall, with the commission at the commission February meeting. So I can get the word out to the GAB about the idea of exploring active military rates,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll see what comes about of that and what their what their recommendations are. And that can be a discussion at the joint meeting in February.
Okay, great. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything for the Trails Coordinating Task Force?
Just that we did have a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and in this year's budget, the council and the RTM approved $25,000 to use as matching funds.
Oh.
And this year, it's been a couple of years, but this year the state is, and they just sent the announcement out last week that funds for recreation trail grants will be available this year. There's going to be $9 million,
Wow.
which is a considerable amount of money, given that probably in the last 6 years, there's been a total of 13 million. So just in this 1 year, there's going to be 9. So that gives us the opportunity to apply for up to $125,000 in grant money. And that is due the 1st of March. So I'll be working on that. Right now, I'm leaning towards continuing the work that we've done at the Kopp Family Park.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to, the goal is to make one entire loop trail out of stone dust. And so it's the accessibility improves considerably. We've done a section already, but have more work to do. And that will likely be what I'm submitting,
Okay,
applying for. Yeah.
good. Thank you.
Mark,
Yeah,
and that grant
Yep.
money is like, it's not like a loan, it's a grant you get, you don't have to pay it back, correct?
No, you don't have to pay it back. Right. It's not a loan. It's it's an 80-20 match. So our $25,000 that's our 20% of what would be a $125,000 grant.
good. Athletic fields?
The Athletic Fields Task Force had a meeting with the Board of Education on Monday night. The Board of Ed has lined up some projects that kind of tie into what the Athletic Field Task Force is doing. They're anxious to get started on their projects. They're looking at doing some work on the football field, doing some work on the bathrooms that are down there.
And
And
pitch?
also, yes, and also doing some work on the bleachers. But they don't want to, they want to work with the Athletic Field Task Force, but they're also anxious to get started on these projects because there's some safety issues that they're dealing with. And so they kind of wanted to get an update, find out where we were. We are on the council agenda for January 10th to go back to them with kind of conceptual plans that Kenton Frost has put together based on the high and mid-level priorities that were identified in the visioning session and also the online survey that took place probably 4 or 5 months ago now. So we're, I think, waiting to see what the outcome of that council meeting is. If it becomes clear that the council is not ready to take any action and wants to discuss it further or whatever, we may have to start looking at spending some of that money on design and plans for high school fields and perhaps Sutton fields until we can until the council makes a decision on what's going to happen on the Clodchester property. Now, you know, I talked with Kent and Frost, and there are some economies of scale by doing this all at once
I bet.
and not splitting this whole thing up into what eventually could be two different projects. So I'm hopeful that the council will, make a decision and we can kind of start moving forward. But I don't know what's going to happen.
It's really interesting.
Just out of
Yeah.
curiosity, do you know
Yep.
if they're going for turf or artificial or natural turf?
Yeah, that decision hasn't been made yet. At some point, it will have to be made, because if the decision is made to go with natural turf, in order to meet the field needs, that's going to increase the number of fields that we need, because turf holds up better than natural. You can get more play. So one synthetic turf field is probably worth a field and a half of natural grass,
Mm,
just because you can get more, it holds up better.
yeah.
You don't have the downtime to let the natural turf recover. And but yeah, that decision hasn't been made yet. And I think that's going to be, there's going to be a lot of discussion about that.
There's so many pros and cons.
Yes, yep.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And
Yep.
is their stuff moving forward? As far as I know, you talked about improvements because of the drainage and things like that. Is that moving forward at all?
I'm sorry, Fran, where was that you mentioned?
Wasn't Pequannock Plains? I remember us talking a while ago about some of the flooding issues on the track around there and improvements.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so the town has submitted a application for grant money to kind of study, to see what we can do in that area. One of the ideas is actually building kind of a marsh between the road and the parking lot, that area that floods. If we could build a marsh, it actually might do a better job of absorbing the water. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know what the timeline is, when we'll find out about the grant. It was submitted by actually the new manager of sustainability. She just submitted it a couple of weeks ago. So, whoa, wow. Wow, that is super loud. Why is that so loud? Ooh. Wow. Sorry, somebody was hearing somebody's phone ring. That was super loud. So what was I? Oh, so I'm just not sure of the date of when we'll find that out.
That's really an interesting solution. That problem has been going on for as long as I've been here.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. The next item is agency accreditation.
All right. Well, as Elizabeth knows, we're slowly grinding our way through that. She faithfully comes in probably 3 days, at least 3 days a week. I think sometimes she's 2 to 3 days a week. Yeah, on that. So that is, it's a lot of work, and we're still hopeful that we'll have this ready by March. I think I said this last time. Some days I feel like, yes, we're going to have it, and other days I'm like, no, it's going to be one more year. But she's doing an outstanding job of just organizing it. I throw all kinds of stuff at her, and she pulls it all together and makes it look really, really good. So thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Mark. them out, then my voice will last.
Oh,
So that brings us to new business. No, it doesn't, to unfinished business, I'm sorry. The environmental sustainability policy, incorporating the recommendations of our November meeting for your review.
So I'll take absolutely no credit for what was submitted. Elizabeth did this whole thing. And I think this just speaks to the great work that she continues to do every time she comes in.
Yes, I think it was laid out good. I appreciate it. I think you really took our feedback. I think it worked good for the way that it read now. I like it because you could modify Appendix A as you know, on a periodicity basis. So I like the format and layout. I was good with it.
Oh,
job.
good. Any other feedback, Fran? Nothing?
I thought it looks great.
Okay,
what-
good.
I admittedly read it quickly, but it looked like it incorporated everything I remember that we talked about. So
Okay, that's what I was concerned about. Good.
Yeah.
Well, in that
And-
case,
All right, sorry, Elizabeth. I was gonna say if we could get a motion to approve that, but I think that's exactly what you
that's
were
where
gonna say.
I was
Yeah,
headed.
I know.
I entertain a motion to approve the environmental sustainability policy as submitted. Fran, thank you. Mike,
Second.
second. Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? The motion passed. All right, and then the next item is the CIP review, Mark.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share with everybody what we were going to be submitting for projects for FYE '24. Now, I know that the estimated funding, it goes out to 2029, but I can tell you that when we're going through the budget process, nobody ever looks beyond the next fiscal year. So, so for facility improvements, we have proposed $90,000 to install a geogrid in the Quantic Plains parking lot. And this is actually part of the proposal that we've submitted as that grant application for sustainability and resiliency. We wanted to show that the town was investing in this project also. And so this $90,000 would be part of the study and, to build that marsh and put in this geogrid, which would help with drainage and help stabilize the parking lot.
Mark, what is a geogrid?
I was
Is it like
gonna
a
ask
sewer
you.
system?
Oh, sure. So essentially what they would be doing is excavating the ground, putting in crushed stone, and then the geogrid is these, they're either round or square, and they kind of they're locked together in this big sheet. And then you fill that with soil also, and it helps with drainage, but it also helps stabilize the ground. It would help stabilize the parking lot, but more importantly, it is designed to improve the drainage.
So it remains a dirt parking lot, but it has a structure to it now. We'll say.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it would be material that would drain better than it does now.
And that's for the whole, I'll call it L section in that area, because like there's the parking lot in the front, and it goes back by the playground. I think it's
Yeah.
all dirt now.
Yeah, no, that would just be kind of where it transitions, when you drive in and it transitions from pavement all the way out to that island where there's a tree planted in the middle. It would kind of
Yep.
include that area. It would not include the area that goes down towards the playground.
Okay. And any reason why we want to do one area and not the other?
Well, I think we were focusing on the area where drainage is the worst. That area tends to flood just because of its proximity to the low area where we're talking about potentially building this elaborate rain garden or kind of creating a marsh for right now.
So you think it would just help with the flooding? That's really the goal.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
And am I correct that they can use recyclable materials or recycled materials when they're making the geogridding? Because I've heard of that recently. I don't know why.
Oh,
Like, is it kind of plastic, but a lot of times they can use recycled substances.
recycled plastic. Yeah, we're not really at that stage yet, but that could certainly be part of, the bid packages that we would want to see recycled plastic versus, I don't know what the proper term is for, I guess non-recycled plastic. I was thinking there may be some other term. Community connectivity. This is 4B. We're looking to create a gravel walking path connecting Thrive 55 and the library. There's a field, athletic field out behind there, and this gravel path would go kind of right by the hockey rink, out around this athletic field, and back in behind the library. It just would be this big loop, and the idea is to kind of improve or increase opportunities for folks to, particularly at Thrive, but also at the library, and just for people using that whole area in general, just to create a walking path that they could use in that area.
Mark, is there an alternative to gravel? Because gravel cannot be used by anyone who uses an assistive device.
Yeah, actually, we could look at stone dust, which is like what they have over at Peconic Plains, and that packs down pretty nicely, and it's a good firm surface.
Yeah, I would strongly recommend that.
Yeah. Okay. I can make that note.
Price difference roughly between, say, like a paved parkway and this? I mean, obviously it's got to be a lot more because of the oil and the asphalt. Like, you have a rough ballpark.
No, I don't. But I could find that out, what the difference in price is, and it may not be that it may not be prohibitively more expensive to do that. But I I can certainly check with the engineering department. They gave me the estimate for the gravel, but we could look at stone dust. Let's see, golf course. This is 4C. We're looking for.
Hang on, Mark. On the 4B, there's a project that's FY 2024 and 25. Is that one being considered or no? Just below the 33K.
Yeah, for 25 and 26.
Now, under 4B, the fourth bullet that says program for FY 24 and FY 25, 140K to construct a bike path, the trolley trail.
Yes. No, that probably discussion won't take place until FYE 25. But
Okay.
that it would take about 280,000. So we're splitting that up over 2 years in order to have enough money in FYE 26 to do that project. Now, some of these may change. As you know, we're going to be updating the bike and pedestrian master plan coming this year, and they will be setting a lot of priorities. So some of these items that you see listed could change based on the results of the bike and pedestrian, the updated bike and pedestrian master plan.
Well, that one, you wouldn't do it until 25. If you did do it, you just bank the 140 and 24 and do the physical work in 25.
Right, yeah, so in 2025, we would be asking for $140,000 and not doing anything at all until we had enough money. If we got the money in also in FYE 26, then we would have enough money to do the project.
Yeah.
4C is for FYE '24, we'll be asking for $258,000 to renovate and restore fairway bunkers, expand and rebuild tees on 3 and on hole 3 and hole 5. All of these recommendations are based on a master plan that was done a number of years ago, and the town manager asked us to kind of consolidate it into a 5-year plan. And so we have prioritized the projects based on the master plan and laid them out into a 5-year plan. For D, we'll be asking for, and I don't have this figure yet, right now, there's a firm looking at calculating the costs to renovate the bathrooms at Calvin Burrows Field to make them accessible. Back in 2013, we hired a consulting group to come in and look at all the recreational facilities and identify all of those that weren't, that didn't meet ADA requirements. Calvin Burrows bathroom was one of them. There was a number of facilities that didn't meet ADA requirements, and we've been slowly working on making those improvements. A couple of years ago, we had the bathrooms at Esco Point Beach renovated, and now we're working on, we had money approved this fiscal year to pay the architects to come in and calculate the costs, and they're doing that now. Next fiscal year will be the money to actually do the work. Athletic field development, we are going to be asking for $150,000 to continue the work on regrading and reseeding the community center field number 2. As you know, we did the first field this year, and work needs to be done on the other field, and so we'll be asking for money for this coming fiscal year to do that work.
Would you plan to have that done in-house, Mark?
Yeah, I think it was, I think the project this year was very successful.
Good.
And the guys in Public Works really enjoyed doing that project. They took a break from paving, and despite the fact that it was super dry and dusty, they really enjoyed doing it. And I think the Public Works director is amenable to, doing that again.
Terrific.
Yeah. For F, we'll be requesting $60,000 to conduct a street tree inventory. And the goal, is to identify those parts of the community where there's either not enough trees or the diversity of trees is not adequate, and kind of coming up with a plan based on the street tree inventory of, where should we be planting trees? Are there neighborhoods that don't have enough trees? And, should we be switching out some trees, or as a tree dies, instead of putting the same tree back in, putting in a different species of tree, just to have a variety, because that is kind of important to an overall healthy canopy of trees in a community.
So just a study,
What's that?
the study for next year, it's not actually doing anything, or?
No, this is just inventorying all the trees, street trees and trees in some of the parks, not all of them. So this would just be the study. I mean, they have to go, there's a lot of footwork going out and, identifying the tree, looking at the health of the tree, making recommendations. I mean, there's a lot of trees in Groton.
Okay, I mean, my personal opinion is it's just a waste of money. I mean, I feel like we can use it for better things, but I mean, I guess if that's what's in the plan.
Yeah, well, certainly everybody will have an opportunity to weigh in. as we go through the process. Let's see, 4G, there's nothing. 4H, again, this is to be determined. Kent and Frost is working on, they came up with the plans that were approved for the Knowing Community Park. And they are now working on estimated costs to build the park as according to the plans that were developed. And so I don't have that information yet, but that I will have it prior to submitting this, the CIP. And let's see. 4I is pickleball courts. This is a project that we've been working on for a couple of years. We had funding and then prices kept escalating and we didn't have enough money to actually do the project. So we're asking for some more money, probably, well, I don't want to say because I'm not exactly sure yet. Money to repair and paint the basketball court that's out behind the community center and, paint that with 4 pickleball courts. The pickleball program in Groton, just like it has in many communities around the country, has expanded considerably, and there's only 3 courts inside, and frequently there are groups of people waiting to get out and play, and by adding 3 more courts, it will better meet the needs of the pickleball community.
Mark, is it just me? I don't see an I, and this is his golf course facilities. Am I the only one missing that the PDF is weird?
Well, let's see, H was Knowing Neighborhood Park, and then I was pickleball courts.
Mine goes from D to F to A.
Oh,
There's 10 pages. This is the one on the email you sent out.
yeah. There's, I think there is 10 pages.
749.
I'm not sure why they're not in order. They're in order in my packet. Are they, Elizabeth, are they out of order?
My packet came, in before. A was at the bottom.
Oh, okay. All right. So after I had J, which was the last one on my list, which is the hockey arena. We're requesting $253,000 to remove the old dashboard system, remove the existing asphalt and footing, backfill and grading, repaving and putting in new footing, and also putting in lights and replacing the dashboard system. So the dashboard is the actual boards that go around the rink. That current rink was originally donated by Connecticut College. I'm not even sure how many years ago. It's wooden, and over the years it's deteriorated. We're constantly making repairs. The asphalt has cracked where all of the concrete, where the concrete makes the asphalt, that's all cracked. So we've got some safety issues that we're trying to resolve. And by adding lights, we would be able to extend the use of that. So we've put that in as a request. And there's also, they run a tournament every year, and I think they've collected about $13,000 over the last couple of tournaments. And that money from the tournament is also going in to help pay for at least a small portion of this proposed project.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Mark, I had one question back on the
Yes.
pickleball.
Oh, sure.
Is the existing basketball court still going to be usable, or
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you'll have dual use.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. The posts aren't coming down. The backboards will remain. And there probably will be the exterior lines of the basketball court, but yes, they will still be able to use it.
It gets a
As
lot
a
of use.
basketball. It does, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially now with the after-school program. And I know Dom is hoping that we can kind of integrate the kids that are participating in the drop-in after-school program. It kind of introduce them to pickleball if we put
That'd be
courts
neat.
out there, which would be kind of
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for Mark regarding the CIP?
Mark, does this go to like the town council to vote on?
Oh, it does.
things,
Yeah,
or what
yeah.
is the-
Yeah, so the next thing that will happen is the CIP projects will go to the town manager. And, he looks at all the requests that comes in, he looks at what he thinks based on discussions with the director of finance, what they will be spending on capital improvement projects. He'll have to prioritize all the different requests that comes in. There'll be cuts. Then it goes to the town council, and the town council will review the town manager's recommendations. They could make additional cuts. And then after it goes from the council, it goes to the RTM. They look at all the capital improvement projects and they may say, no, we don't want to see the money used for this. We can't afford this project right now. And potentially additional cuts could be made. So there's 3 more rounds of, or 3 rounds of review.
So they really don't approve it at the CIP level. They approve it as like the individual task level. Will say they could say we're good with D6, we're not good with H, we're good with J.
Yes,
They can come back.
exactly. Yes, yeah, they have that. They can drill down, and look at each project. And they may say, what we think lights, and I'm just, lights are a terrific idea, but we don't think that's something that we can afford right now. So they sometimes will cut out portions of CIP projects.
Do they ever recommend or bring back different things, or is it just like this is the list, approve it or partially approve it?
Yeah, usually they don't say, well, we'd like to see something else on coming out of Parks and Recreation, we'd like to see something else, or coming out of Public Works, we'd like to see something else. The projects that get approved are usually those that have been presented by the staff.
Any other questions? Well, then I think we'll move on to the commission dates for 2023. Looks fine to me.
Okay, yeah, I made some assumptions. One, that the commission was interested in continuing to meet on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. So the dates that I presented are Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. Mike had requested that we kind of rotate, not do all of them virtually. So I threw in a couple of sites other than virtual. So, if the meetings are going to be virtual, well, if we're going to have a hybrid availability, then the meetings have to be someplace where we have Wi-Fi. So that kind of limits where we can meet. At the community center, we've got Wi-Fi. Spicer House, we don't have Wi-Fi at the Spicer House, so that would have to be an in-person meeting only. Thrive, obviously, we've got no problem with Wi-Fi there, and the community center. So I don't know, Mike, if you had other places in mind, but
So I was good with what you had. The only recommendation I was going to have is like in November 9th, we went back to the community center. What about something like the Flanders School or one of those other buildings that gets used maybe by Parks and Rec for some of the programs we would go to for the fourth time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to check with the Board of Ed to see if they have something available. And, you know, if it was going to be a hybrid, we'd have to have a connection to a large TV so that people could remote in versus just on a laptop, which could be a little tricky. But I can look to see if we can find another location for that November 9th meeting.
Okay. I was good with it, and I have like a hotspot on my work phone, so I can broadcast in 5G if we have a laptop that can hook up to a TV or something.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Do we need to vote on this, Mark?
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the dates and locations of the 2023 meetings of the Parks and Rec Commission.
I'll make the motion with the recommendation. We look at the 9th one and good there.
Thank you, Mark. Fran?
I'll second it.
All in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Carried. Then our last item of business is the application for the Golf Advisory Board. Mark, do you happen to know if this candidate was recommended by the Shinnecock staff or?
He's actually the new president of the men's club.
Okay.
So yes, he has the endorsement of the men's club. So, you know, I didn't really think there was a whole lot of, you know, if the men's club is voted in president, there's a position on the golf advisory board for the president of the men's club. So it's kind of a,
Ex officio or something.
yeah, exactly. But it does, the policy is to, you know, have the commission approve members. So I felt it was important that we brought this forward.
Well, I also checked the membership because he's not a resident, but
No,
there's
he
a
lives in
non-resident
Stonington.
opening, so
Right,
that's not a problem either.
right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Any questions, Fran, Mike?
And he did sit in on the first GAB meeting the other night.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to turn down a volunteer, that's for sure.
No.
All right, well then we need to have a motion to
I-
approve. Yep,
Oops.
Fran?
Men's club. I'm sorry, I'm not aware of this. Is that just a group of guys who get together and play golf?
Yeah, so there is a men's club and a women's club at Shinnecock. And they have kind of internal tournaments. If you're a member of the men's club or women's club, there's kind of like an ongoing ranking during the course of the year. And, you know, at the end of the year, based on rounds played and scores, you know, there's like a women's club champion and a men's club champion. And it's probably more social than anything else, but there are two groups and they do hold special events for just the women's group and special events, you know, just for those in the men's club.
Thanks, I'm sorry. I just hadn't heard about the men's and women's clubs before. Curious, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, then, I need a motion to approve Mr. Stowe as a member of the Golf Advisory Board. Don't all talk at once.
I'll make the motion.
I think Mike said he'd make the motion. I'll
Okay,
second.
great. Oh, super. All those in favor of Mr. Stowe joining the Golf Advisory Board? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, approved. Is there any other business to discuss tonight? While we still have voices?
Illegal dumping is the next thing on the agenda. I'm guessing it has to do with the photos that Dom sent out.
Oh, yes.
I missed that. Sorry
Yeah,
about
it's on the
that.
back page.
Yeah,
Yeah, so, you know, the issue of illegal dumping is not unique to Groton. It's something that all parks departments deal with across the country. You know, our approach, in some parks, we have trash cans. In other parks, we don't. And my experience has been that in some parks, when you put a trash barrel there, people use that to just fill up their own household trash. And, you know, we've seen that out at the cop property. We used to have, well, they were actually using the fence around the portalet as a dump. They would drive up and throw their bags of trash over the fence, and it would pile up around the portalet. The parks guys empty, I think we have like 60 barrels out all across town, and empty trash twice a week. It's a huge undertaking. We've seen all kinds of things dumped. I have one time went to Pequot Woods. There's a small parking lot off of Sandy Hollow Road, and found like 8 bags of smashed apples. Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. So we find out all kinds of things, and our approach to those parks where we don't have a barrel is it's called the broken window principle. So if we see something wrong, we address it right away, and it kind of sends a message that you know, someone is looking after it, and it maybe gives pause for somebody to continue that type of activity. I have to say, I'm not really in favor of putting a trash barrel out there. I think we will see people will just be filling that up with their own personal trash, and it's just one more barrel for us to have to empty. You know, most of the barrels are in parks that are used, they're in neighborhood parks where there's people kind of keeping an eye on what's going on. Sparkle Lake, there is no neighborhood nearby, and I think people, I mean, we've seen, you know, we see things get dropped off there, but generally we address that issue right away and take care of it. You know, I guess I'm more comfortable with having to pick up a piece of furniture every 6 weeks than having to go out every week, twice a week, to empty a trash barrel that's filled up because somebody was too lazy to, you know, dispose of it properly.
I was also thinking about Sparkle Lake in terms of its frontage on the road, on Thomas
Right.
Road.
Yeah,
That parking lot is somewhat hidden
it is.
behind, and I just wonder if it is possible or feasible to reduce that hiding space so the
Yeah.
parking lot is more visible to people going by,
Yeah,
thinking that that might slow somebody down from
Yeah.
just jumping.
and we have done that already. We've put up stones to kind of reduce the size of the parking, and also put up like a fence to reduce the size of it, but there is kind of one little area that people can kind of tuck into. And it seems like whenever there's one car in there, they're always parked over in that corner.
Mhm.
And so we could look at kind of shrinking that a little bit further.
Yeah, a little more visible to the street.
Right, yeah.
Since Dom raised the issue, should we put this on unfinished business for our next meeting?
Sure.
An election of officers, how do we do that?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. In all fairness to Dom, since he's not here, I'm not sure that we should probably move this to unfinished business also.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay, so our next meeting date, it will be January 12th of 23 at the Groton Community Center at 7
Okay.
o'clock.
Okay.
Any
Mark, I
other-
had two things if we can take a minute.
Yeah.
One for like all the park stuff from the CIP, from the feedback, I hadn't gotten into any additional parks, so it's hard to get cold and light early now, but two
Yeah.
of the things I look back at the list is the Sparkle Lake we're talking about, right? That parking lot gets flooded pretty good. Maybe like a grading or something in the future. It doesn't have to be expensive, it's not paid. Maybe something like you had I'll call it those corrugated items we're looking at for chronic claims, maybe something like that. And then there
Yeah.
was another park, the Mystic Academy Park, putting a walkway from that new parking lot to the park. How do we
Yeah.
get those onto a future, maybe not for 24, maybe it's a 25? How do those get onto this?
Yeah. I'll make a note to include that. CIPs generally, if they're less than $25,000, come out of operating. So that would probably be, well, the parking lot at Sparkle Lake, that actually, the lady in charge of, she works in public works, she's kind of in charge of stormwater. She's actually written a grant, and I think we're waiting to hear back on putting those pavers in at Sparkle Lake, and that would be a perfect location. We do regrade that occasionally. The trick is the water table is so high that it's frequently flooded, and that flooding kind of deteriorates the parking. So we've got potholes and ruts and whatnot, and we do drag it when our schedule allows. But she has submitted a grant application to put in paver or geogrid in that parking lot, which would greatly improve that. So that's a project that would meet the requirements of CIP of $25,000. The walkway at Mystic Academy, that probably would not be a $25,000 project. I would have to see if I could either get engineering to come up with plans. It could be a challenge to meet ADA requirements, just because of the change in from the parking lot down to the grass area. But I can talk to engineering to see if we can come up with a plan and how much that might cost. So I'll make a note to do that.
Okay. There was federal funds that were given a while back. I remember there was a vote at like I think the senior center maybe a year ago, how to use them. Did we ever get any feedback from that from the town if we got any money in Parks and Rec from those? I think it was from like, I think COVID relief or something, and there was a vote. You actually showed up and you wrote on a ticket. I think they had like 5 jars and you could put it in the category 1.
Oh, was that for ARPA funds?
I can't remember, to be honest.
Okay, because we did submit. Well, we submitted after we went through the FYE 23 budget. There was projects that were in the CIP that the council made decision to fund using ARPA money. So putting lights in architectural lighting along the walkway at Pequannock Plains Park, that was a project that was funded using ARPA money. The Recreation Master Plan, that was another project that was funded through ARPA money. The Bike and Pedestrian Master Plan, that was another project funded through ARPA money. After the budget process was over and ARPA money had been assigned, there was still ARPA money left. And so the planning department took proposals from for how to spend that additional ARPA money. And there was the process that was decided on. There was a long-term recovery committee that looked at all the applications. I think there was a total of 54 applications. The long-term recovery committee looked at those projects and identified the top 20. There was 3 projects that are kind of recreation related that made that top 20. So one of those was the Bike Groton group had asked for $25,000 to kind of finish the fundraising for the pump track. They've raised 55 and needed another 25 to try to get them to where they needed to be. So that was one of them that was approved. There was another one approved for kind of coming up with a universal sign that Avalonia, Groton Open Space, and Groton Parks and Recreation would kind of use to identify all the trails in Groton so that the public would know that, yes, this is in fact a public trail. It's managed by Groton Open Space, but it's a public trail. So there would be kind of like, we'd be working with a designer to come up with a universal symbol that could be shared amongst the different groups. And then trying to think of the other project. I guess it's trails related, but Tri-Town Trails had asked for money for additional signage. And so those 3 projects were in the top 20. Now, those were presented to the council back in maybe October, and the council is still debating on if they're going to accept the long-term recovery's recommendations or if they're going to go back, and they haven't really decided as of, well, I didn't watch Tuesday night's meeting where they were going to, I think they were going to discuss that again. I don't know that they've made a decision about how the next step of the process is going to work. So I think that might be the money you're referring to. That was over a year ago that, yeah, there was buckets that people could put money in. Like I said, I think there was 54 requests, long-term recovery identified 20, and the council is trying to figure out if they're going to throw out those 20 and start the whole process over, or what they're going to do.
Thanks for that answer.
Yeah, sorry, that was kind of long-winded, but it's been a process.
No, it makes sense. I think I got the 3 that I went to, and you're just waiting to see if they approve them.
Yeah.
I didn't know
yeah.
those were 3, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
The last bit of feedback I had is, so when we listened to the consultants last meeting, there was
Yeah.
2 areas that I thought were maybe good things. One was maybe a family day in the summer, organizing like a family day or a night. I call it a day outing. Like the DEP does one for the state where they have a DEP day at one of the parks, and they bring in like fish and wildlife. They bring in fish. They have sometimes they have like shotgun shooting, but like it's a family day. So I mean, we're not going to have those types of events, but maybe something
Right.
at one of the parks is big. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's awareness. Some type of family day event might be a good idea. Maybe events for kids, like little bubble stations. I'm just thinking of different things. Could be a way to get out, get to know your Parks and Rec staff, us. Be at the park, just be a fun day for families to come out. You could have
Sure.
food trucks there, maybe. So maybe
Yeah.
like Connecticut Plains is a good idea, but maybe there's a better space.
Okay.
And the second thing was, I was thinking, so we have a good website for all the trails and parks, but I don't feel like we have like a good app connection between all the parks. So like younger generation, right, a lot of smartphones. Like if we had QR code in each, we'll say park, and you had an app like some of the Chamber of Commerce uses apps for like all the local restaurants. We had something that even if it tied in with that, something with a town where you had like a town-based app, and maybe it's just for Parks and Rec, maybe it's for the town, maybe there's a section for Parks and Rec in a town app. Could be a bigger joint effort, but you know, if you had a QR sign where you could download the app from an app store for, you know, Android or Apple user, that had information on there, similar to the web page, but more as like app based. They're more, you know, GUI graphic interface, better for those types of phones. Maybe you have a disc golf course on there. You have as you pull up the hiking trail, you pulls up, you can pull the map up and say, oh, I'm at this location, you know, access to geo services. Yep, I'm at this trail. Let me get you the trail map for it. Right, it's a project, but it's more of an IT project. But I think people might benefit from something like it as a proposal.
Okay. All right. I can speak to our GIS coordinator for the town. I know he's been doing a lot of map work, and he's young, and I think he would be interested in doing something like this, and would perhaps have the capability to do it also.
Yeah, I mean, like, right, for a programmer and someone who's in that field, it's probably pretty easy. For me, I would have no idea what I'm doing. But, you know,
Yeah.
even if you have interns in the town or something, you know, if you have someone in that field, it's not a bad project, even over a 2-year period, to develop maybe the GUI portion one time, have someone program it on time. Just suggestions, right? He might have better ideas, but it could be a, you know, 1-2 year project, but it could be something that's beneficial.
Right. Yep. Okay.
That's it. Thanks.
All right. Elizabeth, you're muted.
At this point, I can't tell. Are there any other items to be brought before the commission tonight?
I just have a question. Which part of the note should that discussion go with? Is that under communications with the commissioners? Right now I have it under our next meeting date because that's when it was discussed, but I don't think.
Yeah, probably under correspondence or communications, I guess, under commissioners.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so too.
okay.
All right, thank you.
Anything else? I will ask again. All right. Then if I hear a motion to adjourn,
I'll make a motion.
thank you, Mike.
Seconded.
Thank you, Fran. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? We are adjourned at 8:23.
All right. Thank you all. Happy holidays. Well, Elizabeth, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, so
Yeah, back to the grind.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
have a good Christmas and Happy New Year, all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Same to
Thank
you.
All right.
Good night.
Good
Bye.
night.